Well, good morning today. How are we? Today marks 3 years since the insurrection happened. Let me explain to you where it's at. Let me explain to you what they're trying to do to Trump. Let me explain to you where it's all going. And I'll give you the answer of where it's going, okay? 1 second, I'm going to grab me a cup of coffee. And I'll show you where all this is going to go. And what I've got to tell you, you can believe me or you cannot. And that's all I got to say. You can believe me or you cannot. Okay? Okay, today marks 3 years. 3 years since his insurrection with Donald Trump. And how people stormed the Capitol building and all that, you know. So 2020. Okay, so we're 21, 22, 23. This will be the 3rd year since that insurrection happened. Okay, because everybody thinks that Trump lost the election, that Biden stole it. Okay? There's a lot of people who believe that, and a lot of people that don't believe that. So over these periods of 3 years, this is already what's happening to Trump. Okay? And this is not going to go nowhere. And I'll show you why. Okay. Let's go back to a little history here. Okay? When Trump was in office, the first thing he did is they accuse him. Accuse. I mean, like, when you accuse somebody, you're blaming somebody for something, okay? Okay, they accuse him of getting involved with the Mueller investigation. It went on for 2 years. And then finally, a year later, they come up with the impeachment. Abuse of power and obstruction of Congress is what they were going after. The abuse of power did not go nowhere when they voted it. When Nancy Pelosi was still, she was the Speaker of the House. The obstruction of Congress, the second vote, did not go nowhere. They both were acquittal. Trump stays in office. A year later, they go after him for being involved with the Lewinsky Russian deal. Abuse of power and obstruction of Congress. They try to do again. But it didn't go nowhere. So that's the second impeachment. Now, question is, can you impeach a president when he's out of office? Well, you could, if you really wanted to. But the problem is, an impeachment is for somebody when they're in office, not out of office. So, they tried to do an impeachment after going through a whole year in investigation of January 6th. And they tried to do an impeachment on Trump at the beginning of January of 2023. Did it go anywhere? No. Didn't go nowhere at all. So then, DOJ orders them to go get their documents back from Mar-a-Lago. Alright? So they go in there and they bust in Donald Trump's home and everything, get all the papers and everything. I can't remember what year that happened in. But they try to do all this stuff. They try to do all this stuff to Trump. So, when they break in Trump's home early last year, they tried to end that. So then the first indictment comes out on Trump from Alvin Bragg, and then he said, oh, he's going to try to get Stormy Daniels in the hush money deal, which you can't do that because that's statute of limitations. I don't care who you are. You can't use double jeopardy once at all. So you can't use it twice because the Senate and the Supreme Court, not the Supreme Court, but DOJ said they weren't going to file any charges on that while he was president. Now they're going to try to do it again while he's not president. Are you crazy? Are you really crazy? So then the first indictment comes out on Trump from New York City with Alvin Bragg. Ain't going nowhere. Ain't going nowhere at all. So then you have the second indictment that comes out actually from DOJ, Department of Justice. And they want to hold Trump in contempt. I mean, they want to hold Trump on the insurrection deal. So how can you hold somebody on the insurrection when he's found not guilty and acquitted? Good question. So Jack Smith comes out and says, oh, Trump's been involved with insurrection and all the Capitol building and all that. Jack Smith comes out, well, Merrick Garland said he had to find somebody to take over what happened. Isn't that weird? So he had to take over what was happening. So he hired an investigator to look into Trump to see any documents or any indictments would be filed against Trump. And Jack Smith comes out and says he had filed indictments against Trump, and he came on live on TV and he talked about all these indictments against Trump. Well, he said he wanted a trial and he wanted it quickly, he wanted it fast, he wanted it really quick, so he puts Trump in jail. But is there anything in the Constitution saying that Trump can't still run for president if he's indicted? No, there ain't. There's none indictments at all stop him from the Constitution from him running. Anything that they're trying to do to this man is not going to stop him from running for president. There's no law in the Constitution saying that Trump can't run. That Trump can't run at all. Because he's been indicted doesn't mean it's going to stop him, because it won't. It will not stop him at all. It will not stop Trump. Alright, so here's the thing. They're trying to do anything they can to stop this man. It won't work. So Jack Smith brings the indictments almost a year ago. 2 months from now, March is when he brought the indictments, the first indictments. So then the second indictment comes from Florida, for holding of the indictments. And Cannon, who had Trump once as a judge, gets him back again. Well, Cannon's looking at it and say, well, there ain't nothing here. Why are you trying to bring this man down? Because it ain't going to work. And it only takes one juror to say Trump's not guilty, and that's the anonymous juror. And I believe that's what's going to happen in all these trials. So then you got Mike Pence's document come flying out. Okay? Then the president has documents that comes out. So you got three people. A vice president, a president, and a former vice president. All three has documents in their hands. The jury, the DOJ comes back and says, oh, we're not going to file no charges against Pence. We're not going to file no charges against Joe Biden's at all for holding those illegal documents in his car and home and everything. So he's going to get away with this until he gets out of office. Then he won't be. because the House of Representatives are going to file charges on Joe Biden when he's out of office, just like they're doing to Trump. So this thing's never going to end. Never going to end. Never going to happen. So what they can do to Trump, when the Republican gets back the full House on both sides, they're going after Biden. They're going to go after his son, too, for exactly the same thing they're trying to do to Trump. You watch. So then, here's what's going to happen. Then, you're going to try to go to trial in March on Trump with Tanya Chucky, Obama appointed judge. Here's the problem. They're trying to do what he can or anything like that. The biggest mistake that Tanya Chucky made is when she said Trump has not got immunity. So what does Jack Smith do? He goes around Congress and goes to the Supreme Court. Says, hey, I want to know the answers now and quick and fast. Does Trump have immunity? Until they decide this. So they come back and said, well, we're not going to, they come back and said, well, first they're going to consider taking the case. Consider taking it to see if Trump has found immunity. So then they come back a couple weeks later and says, well, we're not going to take this case. Not right now. We got too much on our plate. We can't take this case. So Trump wins that case. So Tanya Chucky says, well, I put Trump's case on hold because I can't do nothing until they make a decision. They could hold that thing on for the whole year. And ain't going to go nowhere. Ain't going to go nowhere at all. So then, they're going to try to do what they can to do this, but it ain't going nowhere. So the bad thing about it is that this trial's been put on hold. It's supposed to start in March of 2024. The second trial starts in Florida. Could be put in jeopardy too. The one in New York City could be put in jeopardy. So you got 3 trials. And 2, one insurrection, and then you got the one in Georgia, which I'm getting ready to talk to you about next. So, the third indictment comes from Georgia. 19 people were involved. And they're trying to get Trump on, it's called reckoning charges. It's World War II or something charges or something. But that ain't going to work neither. So, then you got the 4th trial. There's 4 trials. So you got 4 trials equaling up to 91 indictments. You see? And it's been almost a year. And none of them's gone nowhere. See? Why don't people listen to what I say? Because I know this is politics, it's political, and it's a joke. It's totally a joke. Because it ain't going nowhere. So now, you got Joe Biden's son that gets indicted on gun charges and cocaine charges. They found cocaine in the White House. Isn't that weird? And think about it. Who's the only one was a cocaine dealer? Crazy, isn't it? Everybody knows what they found in the White House, who it belongs to. But a lot of people don't think about it. They don't pay attention to it. The weirdest and funny thing about it, and the crazy thing about it, is that it's weird. It's crazy. But, so he goes in front of the judge, and the judge found out that she was being played. So, she says, I'm not taking this case. I'm not giving you your plea deal. Because he thought he had her wrapped up in her hand like money-wise, right? Well, she found out he wasn't going to do it. She's not going to do that. So then, he goes back to court. He's in court, and he goes back to court. And while he's in court, they said there will be a trial on Hunter Biden. So then, back in November or December, they filed a second indictment on Joe Biden's son. This time for gun charges. So you got 2 indictments on Joe Biden's son and 4 indictments on Trump. Wow, this is crazy. What a crazy year last year. So then now, you've got what the House of Representatives have asked Joe Biden's son to come and talk to them. He says, I refuse. Uh-oh. When you refuse a subpoena that's given to you, you will be held in contempt. Then, the weird thing about it is that now the House of Representatives had subpoena Merrick Garland. First time in history this ever happened. And also the first time in history we've ever removed a Speaker of the House last year. So then you got where Merrick Garland is being held with a subpoena. And if he refuses, he will be held in contempt. Then you got Jack Smith that is being held in contempt. But then we got another problem. Listen, Latina James is asking for $350 million because she said that Trump violated, fraud and everything like that. But the judge said he already considered Trump did do fraud. How can you do that when there ain't no trial? The bad thing, there's no jury. There's no jury in this trial. So they could get away with it. But here's the bad thing about it. If Trump gets into office, he can wipe all that stuff clean. He can pardon himself on everything that Latina James tried to do. But here's another thing. If Trump doesn't win and a Republican wins, then that Republican's going to pardon Trump, going to pardon all the January 6th committees, going to pardon everything that the DOJ tried to do to him. Everything's going to be pardoned. That's if the Republican Party wins. But the way things are going now, looks like the House is going to get both sides back. And if that does that, it's all over. There will not be no more investigation on Trump because the House will block it and the Senate will block it. And what things are going right now, it looks like the Senate is going to become a full House again. And they're going to be split 50-50. It's going to become a full House. So you see what I'm saying? A lot of people knows what's happening right now. And today marks 3 years of the insurrection. Jack has not moved anywhere with any charges or any convictions or anything on Donald Trump. It will not happen. And the one against Stormy Daniels will not happen. Alvin Bragg will not happen. None of these will go anywhere because they all will end up they will all end up with an acquittal, either not guilty or a hung jury. But it only takes one juror to say Trump is not guilty. And that jury is known as an anonymous juror. And that's what's going to happen. We're going to be wasting all our money, all this time. And you know why inflation's going up so high? Because they're worried about bringing down Trump. And it ain't going to work. I was right about impeachment 1. I was right about impeachment 2. And I was right about impeachment 3. So how can you hold someone accountable like insurrection when he'd been acquitted of insurrection? That's double jeopardy. You can't get in front of abuse of power or obstruction of Congress. That's double jeopardy. Listen to what I'm saying. I'm saying you're trying your hardest to bring down a man that's got strength in him like Cyrus. You got another hand is trying to punch this out, but he's standing tall. And he can't be brought down. The rock is still standing. And Trump is still standing. But this side's starting to crumble and fall. And that's DOJ. I kept telling everybody, before you bring down this man, the powerful man that stands tall, this one's going to crumble and fall. And that's DOJ. And that is what's starting to happen. With a subpoena on Jack Smith, a subpoena on Merrick Garland, and a subpoena on his people, it's all starting to crumble down for this. But by the time they get to Donald Trump, he'll be standing tall. But DOJ will still be crumbling and falling and falling and falling. So by the time 2025 gets here, this year, November, we'll know exactly who he's going to be. We'll know exactly who will be the president of the United States. And I believe that president will be Donald Trump. Not Joe Biden, Donald Trump. Let me bring one more thing up. Do you remember when Joe Biden was running for president? What was in the picture? What was in the picture when Joe Biden was running for president? You want me to tell you? COVID. What's going on right now? COVID. Is people going to believe that COVID is going to stop them from running for president? Ain't it weird? When Joe Biden was running for president, it was COVID-19. 3 years later, we got COVID again. Hospitals are filling up, everybody's getting sick, and so on. But it's COVID. It's COVID that's doing the same thing like it did in 2020. So I'm going to tell you, keep your head up. Don't let it down. Always trust in a man above, because he's the answer. Remember, it was Donald Trump that said, I am the chosen one. He said that because of China. That's where COVID was made, when Donald Trump was running for president. He also said, I hold a Bible in my hand. A Bible in my hand. And the Bible says a holy man will go to the wall of Jerusalem. And you know what's so funny? That person was Donald Trump. He was the only president of the United States to ever go to the wall of Jerusalem. He was the only president that put the handwritten letter in the wall. No one else has done it but him. Now, why did he do that? Why was he the only person that put a handwritten letter in the wall? Why come Israel will not let anybody else do it? Because the Bible says the man that comes to the wall is a holy man, and he will be marked by a special word as a trump of a key. What's Donald Trump's last name? Trump. T-R-U-M-P. It's a playing card. And every time they try to play a card on Trump, like DOJ, they throw it back at him. And that's what's going to happen, because he will be the nominee, he will win, and none of these states can stop him. So if he'd been convicted of insurrection, could he still run? Yes. There's nothing. If he's convicted of anything, he cannot run, because there is nothing in the Constitution that can stop him from running president. Nothing can stop him from running. There's not one single thing in the Constitution. Now let me ask you one more question. If he wins, does his indictments have to be cleared for him to be president? No. There's nothing in the Constitution that says they have to be cleared. I think this is why the Democrats are scared. They're afraid because they think he's going to win. You all have a nice day. And thank you. And God bless you.